So for the FE exam in chemical engineering, the only bonding you need to worry about is ionic bonding and covalent bonding. Of course, there's other things like hydrogen bonding and van der Waal forces, which you probably remember from your chemistry courses. But for the chemical engineering FE exam, you only need to know the differences between ionic bonding and covalent bonding. So ionic bonding is essentially what it's saying. It's the attraction, electrostatic attraction, between positive and negative ions. So what's happening is if you have something like salt, this is formed with an ionic bond between a positive sodium ion and a negative chlorine ion. So what's happening? The electron is being transferred from the valence shell of one atom to another atom. Ionic bonding has to do with transferring of electrons, which is different than covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is the sharing of electrons. So make sure you know that difference. So in ionic bonding, the electronegativity difference between the two compounds that are bonded with an ionic bond is always greater than or equal to 1.7. So you should know this for the exam. The electronegativity difference for ionic bonds is greater than or equal to 1.7. So covalent bonding is different because it's not between positive and negative ions. It's usually between organic molecules. So some of your organic elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen. And instead of transferring electrons, both elements or multiple elements in a compound are sharing electrons, so their electron shells are overlapping. So electrons are not moving from one shell to another. The shells are just overlapping and the electron is being shared. So in covalent bonding, you have nonpolar covalent bonds and polar covalent bonds. The major difference you need to know is that nonpolar covalent bonds are almost always bonding between the same elements. So several common gases like hydrogen gas, oxygen, nitrogen, chlorine gas, they have nonpolar covalent bonds because there's bonds between the same elements. Now, why is the electronegativity difference equal to 0 for a nonpolar covalent bond? What's the obvious reason? Yeah, so same element, same electronegativity. So it's always going to be equal to 0. There's no difference between the values. So what if you have different elements, but you have a covalent bond? Those are polar covalent bonds because the electronegativity difference is less than 1.7. Now, if you just knew this slide for your exam, this is enough to answer the ionic and covalent bond questions on the exam. It's very basic. But what I've done is I've added this table if you wanted to go into more of the differences between the two. I won't go through each line, but this can be read when you're studying by yourself.